So, how to build scalable apps with Next.js. Before that, my name is Dinesh, currently working as a software engineer to at GeekyAnts company. Actually, Roman has covered everything, whatever I had to cover, but still, I would like to just elaborate what is what and how exactly Next.js have this feature behind itself. Okay, so why scalability matters? Apps today face traffic spikes, global audience, and rapid iteration needs. Scalability means not just handling the traffic, it's also developer velocity. It has to make developer friendly. Even if many developers are working on one particular code base, it has to be very much friendly, and the velocity should also increase when it should not decrease the velocity as the audience grows or the traffic grows. So developer velocity should be one concern which we have to maintain while we are having scalability as on cards. And the next thing is global performance. When can we expect the scalability? When your application is now globally available, you would have an audience from all over the world, and you have to manage the traffic from all over the world, and also the speed doesn't matter where they are accessing your application. So global performance would be one thing you have to maintain while you are creating scalable applications. And operational simplicity. When I say operational simplicity, you just have to, I mean, using Vercel now, you don't have to create CI/CD pipelines, or you don't need DevOps team actually to manage the servers. Vercel does itself, and it operates itself in a very simple manner. To be very much precise, if you just type command git push, the latest changes, whatever you have done on your code, would be on live. You don't have to handle all the CI/CD or everything, or you have to create the build again and do all the stuff. So operational simplicity wise, also scalability matters. It will decrease much of the human work. Why choose Next.js and Vercel? Because it has out of the box performance, built in support for server side rendering, incremental static rendering, and edge functions. And also, we do have very tight integration between a front end and deployment. Let's get much of the details. What is what exactly? Why Next.js is scalable? I mean, if in market we do also have many other frameworks, but why Next.js? Next.js comes with file system based routing, easy to scale features across teams and modules. If you just use a simple React, you have to additionally add other libraries to maintain the routing. But the Next.js, it comes with the file based routing itself. Whatever the folder which you create now becomes a route itself. And also in the Next.js, we do have hybrid rendering. You can choose between server side rendering, static generation, incremental static generation, and you also have the feature called edge rendering. First thing, server side rendering. Before Next.js, the architecture is in this way. Everything was loaded at the client side. All the JavaScript bundles, HTML, CSS were loaded into the client side, and client browser is responsible for all your components mounting on the browser. But now we can decrease the client side load. We can now change this architecture only at the client side rendering. Now you can shift your a part of your application which does not require browser APIs, that can be now shifted into the server. We can now have React at the server itself, because that is one thing which is very much required to create the components, right? So we can have React at the server, and we can now create components at server itself, which does not have any browser dependencies, and those server components can directly shifted as HTML, which is very much fast and very much high performance for browser to render it thing. And also we can have other components which are dependent upon browser APIs, such as components which have functionality such as click function or event handlers, or any other thing browser related stuff can be hydrated at hydrated at client side generation. So now shifting this logic from client and server as very much performance, like increased where the performatically wise, also the application has been a very much good. Next thing we have is static generation. For example, let's assume you are creating a blog application which does not require, you know, a dynamic routing or dynamic or or a API request for every call which we make. Once at the build time when we generate the pages, that those can be served every time whenever the user requests the same page. You don't have to generate it again and again because the content itself is the same. So Next.js have this wonderful feature called static generation, in which when you can have a function which exports the static props and you can pass those props to your page. So at the build time, when you're deploying your application, the page itself is now created at the build time with the props, whatever we are generated. And the page is served globally to the users with caching functionality also provided by Vercel using CDNs. Incremental static regeneration. It is also very much similar to static generation, but you can also add a time limit where you can able to revalidate your pages for every 60 seconds or 120 seconds. It automatically does. You don't require to add any con jobs or any other things to your configuration to your Vercel or Next.js. Vercel directly handles this incremental static generation. You just have to mention revalidate and the time automatically, depending upon the time which you have mentioned. At the background itself, the page gets refreshed and you're no longer going to see the stale data. You're going to see the fresh data for every 60 seconds. And the next feature which it provides is edge rendering, middleware and edge functions. Okay, middleware is something which comes between your request and request getting into the main server or SSR server. Middleware, in the middleware, you can handle authentication, A/B testing, and geo redirects and every other stuff, so that you can decrease the load on the main server. Something which less logic and no complexity can be easily handled at the middleware itself, and we can decrease the burden and every other stuff. And techniques like code splitting only loads what's needed, helps both performance and scalability. When we create scalable application, obviously the sizes of bundle sizes grows, the HTML sizes grows, all the JavaScript files grows. Instead of loading everything at a time, we can load what we need, which helps the performance and scalability. API routes, backend logic co-located. No need for separate backend in many cases. Next.js comes with a built-in backend. Now you can write your own APIs at the Next.js itself. You don't have to create separate Git repository, or you don't have to create or manage the backend server separately. Next.js comes with the built-in backend support. And this is my reaction exactly when I heard or when I learned that Next.js is capable of doing all this stuff. Okay. Okay, how Vercel powers? What are the powers of Vercel here? Global edge network. Pages and assets are served from nearest edge location. It doesn't matter where you are on the global. We do have servers and CDNs and edge servers available globally. I think we have one in Mumbai and Delhi, so that user can have low latency and fast requests and fast responses from the server. Zero config, as I have told you, we no longer require DevOps team to manage the server. Just git push will resolve your issue, and Vercel takes care of your deployment, prod builds, and rollbacks. Serverless function and edge function. When I say serverless functions, Next.js automatically, handles your APIs. Serverless functions are nothing but the API requests which you write in route folder of Next.js. What happens here when we don't have any traffic? Obviously, Vercel not going to run those server, and when we have huge traffic, it gonna scales up accordingly. At the end, it's gonna manage all your server side related stuff, increasing the scalability, decreasing the scalability, whatever the time comes up with the users. And next thing which we have is image optimization. Next.js has this wonderful feature called image optimization. You can use the built-in image component, which optimizes your image across all devices. It doesn't matter how your application is rendered in mobile or desktop or laptop. According to your screen sizes, your image is now optimized. And you no longer have the layout shift which we used to face before the next image optimization technique, we're gonna see the layout shift. You know what? It gonna sometimes the image load gonna take some time. By the time the image is not loaded, the content which you have might occupy the space which image used to have. But after the image is loaded, the layout is gonna shift it from its position, which is a kind of not very good experience for user. Image optimization, which resolves this problem, by having the space for the image where we can show the loader itself, and so the user can now know that there is something which is loading up there, and we no longer have the layout shift problem. And caching, obviously, the static pages which were generated at the build time is directly served from the CDNs, in which users whatever speed and the latency which we can able to resolve by using this caching here. Next thing, these are the key architectural principles while when you are trying to build a scalable applications. I would say if these principles or these points, if you could maintain, this could help you to create the scalable applications. First thing comes is modular architecture. Group your code by domain, modules, feature, and components, which would be easy for developers to maintain. And even if some other new developers join to your project also, it would be easy for them to adapt easily to your code. Using dynamic imports such as Next Dynamic to reduce the bundle size. As we already discussed, we can use dynamic imports, load whatever the user wants to see. Instead of loading all the things at a time, just load according to the user performance. Like if user is trying to go to this page, then only you load the components which are available on those pages instead of loading all the components at a single time. And the next thing is data fetching strategies. Using server-side rendering dynamic data, now you can fetch the data at the server itself. We all know client is variable and server is constant. We no longer have to face issues of internet speed or any other things at the client side, because the important functions or important data fetching is we can do that on the server side. So no longer we have to worry about the speed and everything, because we are maintaining the servers. So we can directly fetch some of the requests at the server side itself, and security wise also we can maintain all the private security keys and everything at the server itself instead at the client. So data fetching can be done at the server side, ISR for semi-static data, and SSG for static combination. You know what? Actually, you can divide your application into SSR, ISR, and SSG. It is nothing like that. Your application has to be one thing at a time. No, you can divide your application. This part of your application can be statically generated, and this part can be dynamically generated, and this can be incrementally generated. According to your needs, you can able to, customize your project. Isn't that so crazy, right? You have whole control of your application, what to go where and where to do what. And the next thing is here SWR and React query. You know what? At the front end also, you can have this React query for caching and hydration. Basically, we don't require a state management like Redux, I would say, because React query kind of wraps your application and it gonna handles your state. If you would like to have a static state inside the client, you can use some lightweight state management like Zustan instead of Redux and any other stuff. So all these things decrease the bundle size, and shifting the logic from client to some to the server helps the performance wise also. And the next thing we have to consider while creating the scalable applications is environment config and secrets. Using Vercel environments, we are able to manage secrets securely across environments. You don't have to worry about managing and everything. Vercel is very much useful for us to manage the secrets across all your environments, the staging environment, the test, the prod environment, or any all other environments, whatever you have. You can also add Sentry or LogRocket monitoring to track the application error or the analytics of your particular application, so that you can get the data accordingly. You can change the things, or you can you can also get the much clarity where it is happening and whatever the things you have to manage. So if these are the four key principles which I do have, And there are many other things. If you could go, this would take more than a hour to discuss, but I would like to just keep it very much simple and crispy. Why and what Next.js resolves the problem, and these are the main things and main core features in which Next.js comes up with. And yes, and there you go, your application is now ready, and I would say it would resolve most of the scalable problems. Thank you. My name is Dinesh again. Thanks for the your time and everything.